All right, so I know I said I was gonna come back in October, but a lot of stuff happened between then and now to the point where like, that's Ryan, by the way.
Huh?
Hey, where are you going? Give me a sec. Yeah, that's another reason why I haven't been making content is because my roommates, and don't get me wrong, I love my roommates and I'm actually gonna have videos with them pretty soon. And like you guys know, I don't like making videos when people are home. After being in boot camp and having no time to myself, zero privacy, zero quiet time to myself, you know, I just kind of learned to live with it. Anyway, I guess we'll just talk about where I've been, you know. So in the last video that I made, I told y'all that I was going to Navy boot camp. That sucked. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be, but it was still kind of sucky. So I guess we'll talk about like my experience in boot camp, and then then we're gonna move on to what we got to do next. Who's this? Oh, I see. Interesting. You going anywhere else today? You don't have to edit all this out. No, y'all are good. You can do whatever. I'll be in here. All right. Anyways, we're gonna talk about that, and then we're gonna go into like, I guess the next, what to expect next in terms of like making stuff. So yeah, I don't have my car and I don't have my garage. So garage talks and the night drives, and that was a good idea. I do have my POV camera. Yeah, my Insta360, I have that still. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about boot camp. Let's start with the beginning, I guess. It was an interesting experience, you know, actually leaving home and like being on your own, right? It doesn't really hit you till like you get to the USO and you get on that bus, right? Now it's interesting because like going into boot camp, I kind of knew what to expect only because, you know, everybody in my family, you know, they served and I heard all the stories before and just growing up around it. And I already had that mindset that I'm here to serve, you know, this is the military. They're not going to hold your hand. You're not going to be, you know, you're supposed to be, you know, a basically trained sailor, you know, you're by the end of it, you know. So having discipline is a must, right? I felt like with that, because maturity, me being older, that made sense to me, right? Because a lot of the people there were very young, like I'm talking 17 years old, right? So keeping up with them was kind of hard, you know. And the Navy's fitness standard is different from the Air Force in the fact that in the Air Force, at least, what we had to do was like the whole push-up, sit-up, and mile-and-a-half run, right? And the thing is, if you missed one thing on the test, it's okay, because like the other categories, like if you failed the run, if you did well in the push-ups and sit-ups, you're fine, right? Or if you failed at the push-ups, if you did really good in the run and the sit-ups, you're fine, right? But in the Navy, if you fail one category, like if you failed one plank, but you did really well in the other two categories, you fail the whole test, right? Hold on a minute. Okay. If you failed one category, you failed them all. So that was kind of like the interesting part for the Navy test and the Navy's fitness standards. But other than that, I think I felt like it was pretty solid and good to go. I planned to coast throughout boot camp because, you know, I already had the rank of E3 going into boot camp, and one of the major reasons you would assume a leadership position in boot camp is to rank up, right? So I figured, you know, I'm gonna leave that opportunity to someone else who needs it, like an E1, right? An E1, E2. I'm gonna give them the opportunity to lead so they can rank up. That did not happen. I didn't have a leadership position in the beginning, right? I was just a normal recruit, and then this was back in like the in-doc days, like P days, you know, P days being the push days, right? So in the very beginning, I was just a normal recruit, and I was doing normal recruit things, you know, fixing the bed, doing all that stuff, and just going through the motions, doing what they told us to do, and that was it, right? And then one day we all got beat for something. It was terrible. And then I realized I was starting to notice the only people that weren't getting yelled at as much or getting beat as much was laundry crew. And one day I was put on laundry crew. first RDC was like, I need one other person to help us carry the bag to the laundry room. And that's what I did. That's all I did was carry the bag to the laundry room. And then petty officer was just talking to us about doing laundry, how to do laundry, how to work machines, whatever. And then at the end of the little speech that he gave, I asked him, so my laundry crew, and he was like, I don't care, man. I mean, as long, sure. And I was like, all right, cool. So then I was laundry crew for a while, and that was nice. Because at that time, like after a few days passed, you can kind of get an idea with like when we were gonna get in trouble, when we were gonna get beat, kind of thing. So like the guy who led laundry was Stubjin, and Stubjin was like the leader of laundry crew for a very long time, since the very beginning until the end of boot camp, I believe. So then he would pull us out to do laundry during the times where we would get in trouble, and it was kind of nice not getting yelled at because we were gone. It was kind of nice. But then eventually, laundry crew wasn't safe, and they ended up getting beat too. And thank God, I kind of left laundry crew. I didn't leave laundry crew. I was hired on to be a yeoman later on. So first RDC was like, hey, you can't be yeoman and laundry crew at the same time. You got to pick one. So I picked yeoman, and I left laundry crew, which was a good call because a few days later, laundry crew got in trouble and they ended up getting beat out in the hallway. I think during I don't know if it was line handling. No, it wasn't. It was in the line handling room in one of the ships, but it was first aid. We're learning first aid, and in the middle of it, laundry got in trouble, and then they got beat out in the hallway in front of everybody. And at that time, I just got fired from laundry to do yeoman work, which was kind of cool. Anyway, I was selected to be yeoman, and a yeoman's job is to track appointments like medical, dental, the swimmers, pretty much help the RDCs with their job. I was a baby yeoman, so like I didn't do like the main yeoman stuff, but like at the same time, I wasn't the best at it. I wasn't, but I had the best handwriting. So I had the best handwriting. I was a little slow though. I was very slow, but when it mattered, like when we had to like pre-stage things and make it look nice, yeah, that was me. I was in there. I did my job. And then as far as like tracking appointments, I did that too. Organizing the desk, organizing, medical chits and dental stuff. I was pretty squared away, I would like to say. I did a lot of the work. I did, and the whole point of having, there was 3 of us, right? And the whole point of having 3 yeomen is so that we can like hold each other accountable, look at each other's work, make sure we're not messing up, make sure we're writing things properly, because it's important work, you know what I mean? I remember we ended up losing, this is like in the first day I got hired to be a yeoman. So the first day that I got hired to be yeoman, the yeoman at the time, I think there was like 3 of them. Yeah, there was 3 of them. It was Aguas, Wise, and it was Simon, right? They got in trouble because they lost a recruit, and that recruit was missing for like 3 weeks. And dude no one knew where he was. He didn't check out with anybody. Turns out he was like FHC, which is like in a hospital off base or whatever, and no one knew, right? So they got beat, and I got beat with them because they're like, I want the yeoman on the black line. And the black line is basically a place in the compartment where you go to get beat when you get singled out. So I was like, dang, like I wasn't a part of this, but since I'm a yeoman, I might as well get beat with them, right? So I went out there on the black line with them, and I got beat with them. It was terrible. We got yelled at, but then the 3 yeomen got fired. I was the only one left until I was joined by Natividad and Pate, who are my best friends and are they're like my best friends in boot camp, those 2, and because I did everything with them. So those were the other 2 yeomen, and the 3 of us were yeomen all throughout boot camp. So Natividad became the main yeoman, I was baby yeoman, and then so was Pate. So it was cool. Then I had another job in boot camp, PFC. Actually, I was guide-on first, but I sucked at guide-on. I sucked really bad. So they fired me from guide-on and put me on PFC, which is personal flag carrier. So I was in front with guide-on, just on the other side of the formation, and we'd march together. And the guide-on was also Pate, who was also the other yeoman. So, and then he became my rack mate, which was nice. I know this is a lot of information, but I'm kind of like skimming over it, because like I'm giving you like a brief description of what I went through, and then I'm gonna get into like the specifics later on for like questions later on or whatever. But yeah, and so I had 2 jobs, PFC and Yeoman, and that was great, you know, because I was able to work in the Shark Tank with the RDCs. So I kind of saw the human side of them. I wasn't like, you know, getting yelled at all the time. I mean, sure, I got yelled at a few times, but it wasn't like extreme like everyone else. I remember there were times where like first RDC would purposely pull us out of the compartment and into the Shark Tank so we don't have to get beat. It was like, hey, you either stay out there and get beat with them, or you come in here and you do some work. And I said, okay, I'm gonna come in here and do some work, right? And for whatever reason, Pate didn't want to do that. He wanted to be out there with the rest of everybody and getting beat with them, which, I mean, I get it. Like, one team, one fight, you know, be there with the team, be a part of it, get beat with them. You know, I always made it a point to at least get beat with the people for at least 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes before I duck into the Shark Tank and get some work done. You know, I get it, you know, but I guess Pate didn't like the idea of hiding in the Shark Tank, which good for him. I did it too, but if you had a choice to get beat and not get beat, why would you choose to get beat when you're only getting in trouble for someone else's mistake, you know? But yeah. So like, if you had a choice between getting beat and not getting beat, why would you choose to get beat? You know, especially if it's someone else's mistake. You just don't, right? I mean, I know it looks bad, you know, hiding in the Shark Tank while everyone else is getting beat, but at the same time, it wasn't your fault. You know what I mean? Like, why would you? So anyway, me and Natividad would do work in there. It was kind of nice doing that. And then PFC, the reason I was chosen to be PFC was because I was short. We had a pretty tall division. A lot of people were like 6 foot and above, you know, but I was pretty short. So short people have to be the flags in the front. I was chosen to be PFC because I was short and I knew how to march because I was in college ROTC. I emphasize college because never mind. And it was funny because one day, I forgot why, but I wasn't there. Oh, I was getting uniform issue. So I didn't get all my uniform items. So one day I had to go and get all my uniforms. Not only that, but I also had to get my clearance, right? So I was gone for like 2 days. I wasn't available for like 2 days. I couldn't be the PFC. So I couldn't march in the front of the division. So the only short people left, aside from me, was like, and to be fair, I'm not like super short, you know what I mean? But I was short enough. But the other short people didn't know how to march. And I guess the rest of the division had a very bad time marching because I wasn't there. And that kind of made me feel good, you know, because I just felt important, you know. And I even remembered, for reasons I will not disclose, but like I was in the right mindset before drill 2 or drill 3. Or evaluation. I wasn't mentally there, you know, and I ended up getting fired from PFC, and I was division body, and that was kind of cool because I was like the first time I was like in the formation singing cadence with the people, because when you're in the very front you don't really hear anything. You don't hear anything and you're not like super motivated. It feels different because when you're in the very front, you're just a machine. You're just marching nonstop, always in step. You're carrying the flag. You're just laser focused, you know, to the point where you're not really singing cadence, right? I mean, at least for me, you know, that was an experience. I got fired, right? And during the time where I was fired, this next person had to be guidon, right? So Pate, who was the guidon, switched to PFC, which was my job. And then another flag filled in for guidon. And I mean, he was fine, but I guess he didn't like it. And he was like, dude, you got to get your flag back or whatever. And everyone wanted me to be PFC again. Like, the attitude they all threw. Because, like, they saw me in the height line, right? In the student body height line when I got fired, and everyone was so disappointed. And I kind of was too, but at the same time, I also needed the mental break to restart and, you know, recalibrate, right? For the 2 days I was fired. And then drill came around. And I was finally able to perform at the level that I was supposed to. And I got my job back as PFC. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Drilled, doing flag stuff, early chow. I kind of liked it because, you know, I already had leadership experience. And being able to use that was pretty cool. And that's what the next video is going to be about, is about leadership and leadership styles. I'm going to share with you mine. I'm not the kind of person that likes to yell at people. I remember There was a time where I actually had to yell at somebody because the RDCs were like, it was third RDC. She came up to me and she said, "Hey, what's his name? Amy. Should we use real names? I'm gonna use real names. Anyway, dude, should we name drop? Whatever." So Amy, he's a recruit. I personally didn't really have anything against him until he started throwing attitude for no reason. So I was told to yell at him. Third RDC was like, "I want you to get in his face, yell at him because he's not wearing the uniform right." Because they wanted me, they've never seen me get mad. They've never seen me yell at anybody. Because at this point, both Pate and the Natividad yelled at other recruits at this point, and they've seen it, and they've never seen it from me before. So they told me to go yell at them, and I did. In the beginning, I got loud. I said, "Hey," try to get their attention or whatever, and everyone stopped. And then I went up to him and like, "Hey, what's up with your uniform?" He was like, "What?" And I was like, "All right, fine. I'm not gonna yell at this guy." So I just pulled him aside. I was like, "Hey, man, you're not wearing your uniform right. I was told to come and tell you, let you know that you got to put your your blouse on the right way. You either put it on the right way or just take it off if you're taking it off, right?" And he was like, "All right, that's cool," or whatever. And then I got in trouble for being too nice. RDC was like, "Oh, Hall, you're a hugger," And at this point, I told them that I would probably reclass or redesignate to RP, like chaplain assistant, because that was one of the jobs that I actually wanted aside from IT. So then that was my nickname. Pastor Hall was the nickname in the Shark Tank because I'm a hugger and I would rather pray for people than yell at them or whatever. So there's Pastor Hall, Papa Pate, and what was Hamster. That was Natividad's nickname because he looked like a hamster. Can you believe he made RTC's Instagram? That's crazy. And I don't really like yelling at people, like I said, so that's not really my leadership style. Even here, being my group's MA for the time being, Flemons, she's somebody in our group. She told me that I wasn't intimidating, and here's the thing, right? You don't have to be intimidating to lead people. That's just what I believe, right? And I'm not trying to be, it's just not my style. The MA that came before me, I don't want to say he was scary or intimidating, but he did have a presence, and his presence, he would actually yell at people. I'm not like that, and the cool thing is I don't have to be like that because the people in my group know me well enough to the point where they respect me and they just do what I ask them to do simply because I asked them to do it. There's a guy who falls out of ranks all the time, and I'm like, "Hey man, why you falling out of ranks? Why you?" He's like, "Oh, well, my knee hurts or whatever." And I said, "Well, unless you got a chip for that, you can't really sit back there. You gotta stand up here, brother." And he's like, "All right, fine, I'll do it. That's my bad, But if it was the other guy, he would have been like, "Hey, you get over here right now." I guess for me, it's I have enough rapport with them to actually speak to them and have them listen to me. Now there are a few people that curse me out underneath their breath, and other people who outwardly hate on me because I say something. But there's a time and place for that kind of stuff, right? Honestly, you can say whatever you want about me. You can get mad at me. You can talk to your friends about me behind my back or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're in a training environment. Just do what you're expected of and you'll be fine, right? Being in boot camp was pretty good. The food was great. It was really good. I had brisket, man. They fed us pretty good, and that wasn't anything special. It was just a normal day. Brisket ribs was on the menu. Pesto, chicken and pesto. That's not okay. It wasn't the greatest because they used wheat noodles instead of the good stuff, and they only had wheat products instead of white bread. Yeah. I mean, even then, it was still good. We still got spaghetti. We still got French toast in the morning. And, and coffee, right? Who has coffee at basic? You know what I mean? And sure, it was decaf, but it still tasted good. If you mix that with chocolate milk, which you could have also, it tastes like a mocha. You know what I mean? We had Powerade. We had juices, actually. Apple juice, orange juice, cranberry. You can't get that, I don't think, at any other basic training. It was pretty good. The galley staff was amazing. Navy has the best food, I would say, in basic training, at least among the branches. You don't get much time to eat, but you at least had good food. And then when we got ice cream privileges, people went wild with that. The experience was not bad at all. And then when we graduated, it was cool too, right? The RDCs, really cool. I kind of low-key, I miss them. I do, because I don't know, it's just something about having RDCs there, and just how knowing, like seeing them every day and like knowing how they are, and the fact that they showed up for us every day, and you know, I appreciated them. And I felt bad because like first RDC, he put out a little book. Well, it's actually a pretty large size book for us to write in for when we left, so we can like go back and read what we wrote for them. But all of it was negative. All of it was like F this person, F that person. Everyone was like hating on each other. It was always the same people too. And some person wrote that they wanted to kill themselves, but it was all like inappropriate and like derogatory and mean. And so I wrote them something really nice. And then my parents wrote them letters, and they actually called me in the office and thanked my parents for the letters, which was pretty nice. And they told me that, you know, stuff like that doesn't really happen. You know, I appreciate them for everything they do, and I'm pretty sure my parents did too. And I'm cool with my RDCs. I love them. You know, I still, in the back of my mind, I can hear their voices in my head when it's time to make a decision, you know, or when it's getting too rough outside, or if it's cold, or when it's, you know, I always think about what they would say in those situations, and I just keep it pushing. And like, I get it, you know, I really do get it. I understand, you know, it is motivation. I know why they yell at us, you know, I know why they're doing what they're doing, showing up for us, you know. Like in the beginning, like I understood the concept, but I didn't feel it. You know, I just felt like they were just yelling at us to yell at us. But then after hearing what my dad would tell me about instructors, and him being an instructor himself, and also my grandpa also being an instructor, you know, when they would tell us like it's just motivation, they just want the best for you. As training progressed, I started to feel that. Unfortunately, some people in our division didn't feel that way, and they chose to still be dirt bags the whole time. And like even now that some of them are here, I wonder if they really like they truly learned anything, you know. But yeah, sometimes it's like I kind of miss boot camp, you know. I kind of miss boot camp. It's crazy, you know. That was my boot camp experience. Graduating felt really good. Seeing my family for the first time is really good. In a lot of ways, I changed for the better, and it really just helped me out like as an individual, and like help me grow as a person. Even like something like this, right? Making videos. Usually I'm pretty confident, you know, but I can feel like I feel like I've changed a lot. Like even the way that I talk like my RDCs, like my vocabulary just changed. There are also some things that I'm worried about in terms of changing, not for the worse, but like just bad habits, right? For example, I never used to curse until boot camp, and now that I'm out of boot camp, I still do, right? And that's something that I gotta change about myself. Not judging anybody who does, but coming from the families I came from, you know, I had to figure out that part, you know, like who I am versus conforming to the culture around me, right? I'm doing my best, you know. So anyway, now we're just dealing with the next step in our journey, right? We're just waiting. So that was my boot camp experience. If you have any questions, any specific questions about boot camp, I'll put something out. I'm gonna put out another question thing. I really have nothing else to say. I think that's it for now. I'm gonna start editing right away. That being said, I'm gonna let my roommate sleep. He's tired, and so am I.
It's been a long day.
It is a long day. And thank you for the cookout. That was really good. Thank you.
Shout out to Mitchell for the potatoes.
Dude, yes. Shout out to Mitchell for the potatoes. That was bomb. Like I'm not even saying it just to say it. I've never had potatoes that good. Because I don't like eating potatoes like straight up, but those were really good potatoes. So Mitchell, you're seeing this. Thank you so much. You're real for that. That was really good. All right. Till next time, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.